Well, if you want to go anywhere, how about Gibraltar? Let's talk to the Chief Minister, Fabian Picardo. Good to see you this morning, Chief Minister. Look, I mean, how prepared is Gibraltar to take people back if you do get on that green list?
Good morning, Stephen. It's a pleasure to be back on your programme. Let me tell you that we acknowledge, of course, that a decision on whether or not Gibraltar will be on the UK's green corridor is a matter entirely for the United Kingdom government. But it's thanks to the United Kingdom government that Gibraltar can proudly say that all of our adult population is now vaccinated. Gibraltar has 0 cases of COVID today, 0. And what Gibraltar offers is the certainty that your reporter was just referring to. We are a combination of a vacation and a staycation. We are that great British staycation in the Mediterranean where you will feel entirely at home. And for that reason, we are totally ready to receive British tourists if they wish to come in Gibraltar. Brits aren't tourists. They're part of the family, part of our kith and kin.
I mean, it's reported in The Sun today that you said if Brits want to travel to Gibraltar, they're not even going to have to do any PCR tests. I mean, is that right? Will people just quite literally be able to turn up like the good old days?
Yes, indeed, because you see, Gibraltar has an open frontier with Spain and the rest of the European Union, and we don't require PCR testing for those who come across our land frontier. We therefore don't think it would be appropriate for us to require PCR testing of those who are coming from the United Kingdom, which has a higher vaccinated population and a lower incidence of COVID than the rest of the European Union. And when you're coming to Gibraltar, you're coming to a part of Britain, and therefore you're going to be very welcome here without the need for a PCR test.
How difficult is it with terms of the land border and moving into La Linea just on the other side of that border? I mean, obviously, if you have Brits heading into Gibraltar and then moving between Spain and Gibraltar, is that going to pose difficulties not only for you but for when people get back to the UK?
Well, the rules about crossing into Spain will be the same as the rules for arriving into Spain through any Spanish airport from the United Kingdom. And the rules on return will be whatever rules apply to returning from Spain. If you've used Gibraltar as an access point into Spain, we'll be able to show the British authorities who has stayed in hotels or addresses in Gibraltar. And therefore, the rules on returning to the United Kingdom will have to be adhered to by those individual travellers. And that some will be able to prove that they've stayed in Gibraltar, and if they haven't, then they'll be subject to the rules that will apply, such as they may be, to arrivals from Spain. But the proposition to come to Gibraltar is a much better one than there is anywhere else in Europe, and I can't imagine why anyone would want to fly anywhere other than to Gibraltar to stay in Gibraltar.
What is the situation at the moment in terms of how badly Gibraltar has been hit by a lack of tourism over the last 12 months? Just how difficult has it been?
Well, as you can imagine, a lot of what our main street does, a lot of what our hotels obviously do, is provide to the tourist industry, our transport sector, our taxi drivers, our coach operators. They organise the tours around Gibraltar. So it's been very, very difficult for them. We haven't had tourism in the traditional way for 12 months. We had a little of tourism in the July, August months last year, but nothing like we've had in previous months. None of the cruise ships are operating. So therefore, we are very keen to see the return of what is, of course, the mainstay of tourism in Gibraltar, which is the British visitor to Gibraltar, who is not a tourist in the traditional sense, because they're coming to a part of the great British family of nations.
I mean, in that sense, are you viewing this as a bit of a golden opportunity? Because as you phrase it like that, I mean, obviously, Gibraltar is the most sort of British place I've ever been. Is there a sense that you could then attract people who are perhaps nervous about further international travel, that Gibraltar, if it's seen as a safe place to go, is going to attract new visitors?
This is the point. I think that Gibraltar offers that certainty. That's why we're saying we're the best great British staycation in the Mediterranean. It's a staycation because you're still within the British family, the British protection of the rollout of the vaccination program, which has been so magnificent in the United Kingdom and, of course, therefore also in Gibraltar. But you are 1,500 miles closer to the equator, therefore in the sun and enjoying being on the shores of the Mediterranean.
Chief Minister, you should work for the Tourist Office. Good to talk to you this morning.
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a beautiful place. I love Gibraltar.